Well, hello there, my wonderful friends. Port Charles is never a quiet place, but lately, the storm clouds gathering over Michael and Willow are looking darker than a cellar at midnight. I have been watching these two for a long time, and folks, what I am seeing now just breaks my heart and chills my bones all at once. You know, we all thought they were the picture-perfect couple, the ones who would weather any storm holding hands. But things have taken a turn that is downright ugly. Michael has gone and done something that changes the whole game. He is walking around with a secret so heavy it would sink a battleship, and he is using it in a way that makes me wonder if we ever really knew the boy at all. He is claiming with absolute certainty that he has the hard proof showing his own wife, sweet little Willow, is the one who pulled the trigger and shot Drew Kane. Just let that sink in for a moment. Now, when I first heard this, you could have knocked me over with a feather. Willow, the gentle soul, the mother, the woman who always seemed to have a heart full of grace. To think of her holding a weapon, aiming it at Drew, and pulling that trigger is a pill too bitter to swallow. But in this town, as we have seen time and time again, the folks with the brightest smiles often hide the darkest shadows. And Michael, well, he is not reacting the way a normal husband would. A normal man would be devastated, maybe call the police or try to get his wife some serious help. But Michael is cut from a different cloth, a cloth woven with Quartermain pride and Corinthos ruthlessness. He is not looking for justice. He is looking for leverage. This brings me to young Trina and Kai Taylor. Now, Trina is a good girl, raised right, with a strong moral compass. When she and Kai stumbled onto the truth about what Willow did to Drew, their first instinct was to do the right thing. They wanted to march right down to the authorities and blow the whistle. They wanted to lay all the cards on the table and let the chips fall where they may. In my neck of the woods, we call that doing your civic duty. But Michael stepped right in their path like a brick wall. He shut them down faster than a screen door slamming in a summer breeze. He told them no, they are not going to the police, and they are not breathing a word of this to anyone. I have to tell you, listening to Michael lay out his plan gave me goosebumps, and not the good kind. He told Trina and Kai that going public is a fool's errand. He believes he has a much more effective way to handle this messy situation. Instead of dragging his family name through the mud and dealing with a public scandal right off the bat, Michael wants to keep this explosive evidence tucked right in his back pocket. He wants to use it as a leash. He is planning to hold this proof over Willow's head to force her into total submission. If she does not do exactly what he says, when he says it, he will ruin her life. He is threatening to turn her into a public pariah, to take away her freedom, her children, and her reputation. It is plain as day that Michael is stepping into a very dangerous game. He is playing with fire, and we all know what happens when you do that. You get burned. I remember looking at Michael years ago, seeing that earnest young man who just wanted to build a good, honest life. But right now, the apple has not fallen far from the tree, has it? He is acting just like the mobsters he spent half his life trying to get away from. He is using blackmail, pure and simple. He is willing to use dirty, underhanded tactics that the old Michael would have despised. It is a sad day when you realize a man has compromised his own soul just to maintain control over his household. Think about the power dynamic between a husband and wife. It is supposed to be a partnership, 50-50, built on trust and mutual respect. But with this evidence in his hands, Michael has completely flipped the script. The scales have tipped so far in his favor that they are broken. Willow is no longer his equal. She is his prisoner. She is living in a gilded cage, knowing that the man sleeping next to her holds the key to her destruction. Every time he looks at her, every time he makes a request, there is that unspoken threat hanging in the air. It is emotional blackmail, and it is a terrible thing to witness. I cannot help but put myself in Willow's shoes for a minute. Imagine the sheer terror of waking up every day knowing your darkest, most violent secret is in the hands of someone who is actively using it to control you. The anxiety must be eating her alive from the inside out. She is walking on eggshells, trying to keep a smile on her face for the kids, all while a storm of panic rages in her heart. When a person is pushed into a corner like that, when they feel like they have absolutely nothing left to lose and no way out, they become incredibly dangerous. A cornered animal bites, folks. That is just a fact of nature. And this is where my worry really starts to peak. Trina and Kai are in the middle of this toxic mess, and they are putting immense pressure on the situation just by knowing the truth. Michael might think he has the situation under control, that he can manage Trina and Kai while keeping his boot on Willow's neck, but human emotions are not something you can just manage on a spreadsheet. Kai in particular seems to be a wild card here. He knows too much, and he is standing right in the blast zone of this family's implosion. The tension is building up like a pressure cooker left on the stove too long, and something has got to give. I have this awful, sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach about where this is all heading. Willow is already a woman who has proven she is capable of pulling a trigger. If she shot Drew Kane, what is stopping her from doing it again to protect her secret? The pressure Michael, Trina, and Kai are putting on her is creating a recipe for an absolute disaster. I am looking at the pieces on the board, and I see a tragedy unfolding right before our eyes. Willow is being squeezed so tight that she might just snap completely and commit one final unforgivable crime to silence the noise. My biggest fear is for young Kai Taylor. He is caught in the crossfire of a marital war that is fueled by blood and blackmail. If Willow decides that she cannot live under Michael's thumb anymore, and if she realizes that Kai is the weak link in keeping her secret safe, she might take matters into her own hands. I can see a scenario where Kai ends up paying the ultimate price for knowing too much. If Kai ends up dead, the blood will not just be on Willow's hands, it will be on Michael's too, for playing God and trying to control a situation that he should have handed over to the law. It is a crying shame to see a family tear itself apart like this. You build a life, you build a home, and then you let secrets and lies act like termites in the foundation. Michael thinks he is being smart, thinking he can outmaneuver the truth, but the truth has a funny way of always clawing its way up to the surface, no matter how deep you bury it. And when it finally erupts, it is going to take down everyone in its path. If Willow commits murder to cover her tracks, there is no coming back from that. The sweet girl we all knew will be gone forever, replaced by a cold-blooded killer driven by desperation. I sit here on my porch thinking about all these folks in Port Charles, and I just shake my head. It is a stark reminder that you never really know what goes on behind closed doors. You can see a couple at the grocery store smiling and holding hands and have no earthly idea that one of them is blackmailing the other over a shooting. I want to believe that Michael will come to his senses, that he will realize this dark path he is walking down will only lead to ruin. I want to believe that Trina will find a way to get the truth out before anyone else gets hurt. But my gut tells me we are heading straight into a hurricane. We have to brace ourselves, my friends. The days ahead are going to be filled with heartache and shock. If Kai loses his life because Michael wanted to play a game of power and control with his wife, the fallout will be monumental. The whole town will be turned upside down. Trina would never forgive Michael, and honestly, Michael would never be able to forgive himself. But by then, it would be too late. The damage would be done, the innocent would be buried, and the guilty would be left to live with the ghosts of their own making. Let us take a moment to really think about young Trina in all of this. Bless her heart, she is caught between a rock and a hard place. She has always been a beacon of light, a young woman who stands up for justice and truth no matter the cost. To have Michael, a man she has known and respected, look her in the eye and command her to bury a violent crime, well, that has got to be tearing her up inside. She is carrying the weight of the world on those young shoulders. Every time she sees Drew, she has to bite her tongue. Every time she sees Willow, she has to hide her disgust. It is an unfair burden to place on a young soul, and I fear the stress of keeping this toxic secret is going to change Trina forever. She is learning the hard way that the adult world is full of compromises, but this is a compromise that could cost someone their life. And the tragic irony of Willow's situation is just too much to ignore. Here is a woman who spent years trying to escape the clutches of a cult, trying to break free from manipulation and control. She fought tooth and nail to build a life of independence, to be a good mother, to be a respected nurse. She wanted to heal people, for heaven's sake. And now, because of one horrific choice to pull that trigger on Drew, she has landed herself right back in a prison of someone else's making. Only this time, the warden is her own husband. The psychological trauma of that regression must be staggering. She is no longer the author of her own destiny. She is a puppet, and Michael is pulling the strings with a cold, unforgiving grip. It makes you wonder if she even recognizes the woman staring back at her in the mirror anymore. This whole mess just goes to show that in a place like Port Charles, the past is never really dead and buried. It always comes back to haunt you, usually when you least expect it. I have seen families weather a lot of storms in my time, kidnappings, betrayals, you name it. But there is something uniquely sinister about a husband using his wife's darkest hour to turn her into an obedient servant. It is a corruption of everything marriage is supposed to stand for. If Kai Taylor ends up paying the price for this twisted game, the shockwaves will tear through every family in town. Friendships will be broken, alliances will be shattered, and the Corinthos and Quartermain legacy will be forever stained with innocent blood. We are standing on the edge of a cliff, folks, and I just pray someone finds the sense to step back before they all go tumbling down into the abyss.